So today we're talking about Stormi Steele because once again, she's back in the middle of some mess, and it just keeps getting more interesting. Stormi seems to be the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to online drama, especially when it comes to her brand, Canvas Beauty. This time, it all started when people thought she was going to address Gisela Cosmetics directly, but instead, she did what many are calling a projection video. It wasn't a straight-up response, but more like an indirect shade, and the real heat came later in the comments section. Now Stormi, as usual, didn't go live on Instagram or Twitter. She stuck with TikTok, which seems to be her favorite platform to respond on these days. People have pointed out that she avoids other platforms when things get messy and only feels safe addressing things on TikTok. In this new video she posted, the caption read something like, "When you didn't send for them, but they come for you." That immediately gave people Real Housewives of Atlanta energy, like she's trying to play the Kenya Moore role of shading without saying names. Then she starts talking in her regular voice, but out of nowhere, she switches into this random British accent, like a Bridgerton-style character. And then she says, "Let's play a game of Never Have I Ever," and she goes on to talk about her new dusting powder product. She brings up how someone said, "Oh, now she's trying to do dusting powders too," and her reaction to that was basically like, "Well, if you miss me just say that." She tried to act like this was all fun and games, but what she revealed next made it obvious she had no idea what dusting powder really was or where it came from before she launched her version. She actually admitted that she had to Google where dusting powders originated from. And that's the key part that really stood out to a lot of people. Because if you have to Google where something comes from after you've already released your own version of it, it definitely raises eyebrows. That admission basically confirmed what people like Gisela Cosmetics had been saying, that Stormi and her team are browsing the TikTok shop, looking at what's trending or what's selling well, and then turning around and making similar products. People pointed out that the dusting powder she released looks very close to the one Gisela Cosmetics already had, which has been a big seller on TikTok. It really does feel like she's copying what's already working and just putting her label on it. If you're doing original work or building a brand from the ground up, you don't need to Google the origin of a product after it's already out for sale. It's like saying, "I made this product, but I'm just now learning what it even is." That's not a good look, especially for someone claiming to run a lifestyle beauty brand. Stormi also mentioned in the video that she found out through her Google search that Johnson & Johnson created talcum powder in the 1890s, and since then, people have been using dusting powders for generations. She tried to play it off like this was some deep discovery, like she was doing research for a college paper. But the reality is, how do you release a product and only then decide to learn the history behind it? What makes it even more confusing is that this is the same person who, not too long ago, accused Melody Sherry of copying her when Mel launched the Sugar Mama Kids haircare line. Stormi claimed she was the Madam C.J. Walker of kids haircare and said she had already created a line for her son, even though that product never hit the market. And now here she is, making a product that another business has already made successful and then admitting she didn't even know the history behind it. It's the contradiction for me. Stormi then claimed that she's always been planning to build a lifestyle brand and that from day one, the goal was to create a full beauty and fragrance line. She said the Canvas Beauty brand was never just about hair, it was about the full lifestyle experience. But let's be real, the Canvas Beauty brand started as a haircare line, and what made it popular in the first place was the hair growth serum. That was her breakout product. Later on, when the business was reportedly struggling, she came up with Body Glaze, and that gave her brand a second chance. That's when she rebranded and started calling it Canvas Beauty brand instead of Canvas Haircare. But trying to act like this was always the plan? No, that's not how it happened, and people aren't buying that. In this latest TikTok video, she also says she's got 5 different scents of dusting powder already, and then she goes right back into the British accent. At one point, she says, "Nobody created dusting powders," trying to argue that no one owns the idea. That might be true, but when you just got done dragging someone else for launching a kid's product you thought you owned, that kind of statement sounds a little hypocritical. Then she drops this line about her next version of the dusting powder being a custom push-button bottle that sprays out the powder. She even throws shade at another top seller on TikTok, saying you won't need a sponge to apply hers. It's like she's trying to one-up everyone while still pretending that she's not copying anyone. That passive-aggressive behavior isn't going unnoticed, and while she's saying all of this, a customer jumps into the comments and says, "Still waiting on mine to be delivered." That just proves another point: she's busy throwing shade and talking spicy online, but customers still haven't received the product that she's dedicating entire videos to promoting. The priorities seem a little off, and if you go check the reviews, it gets worse. In just the past week, there have been over 131 star reviews. Some customers say they received the wrong items. Others say their packaging was leaking. One person said they were told to accept a $5 coupon for the issue, but didn't want to return the product because USPS made them sign something saying they'd be responsible for damages to other packages. That's wild. Then she turns around and blames the postal service for the issues. Like, is TikTok even aware of all this? Are they watching what's going on with her store? Because something isn't adding up here. Verified buyers are complaining, and she's deflecting instead of fixing it. But the biggest tea might be when someone asked about the woman behind the body butter review videos. The question was like, what's going on with the lady who made the buttercream videos? She's annoying. And Stormi responded, "Child, my lawyer's going to get on her nerves real bad. You can't tell lies with no consequences." Now, that was interesting because people thought Stormi and Gisela Cosmetics were on good terms. It turns out they weren't collabing the way people assumed. What happened was people were tagging both brands in videos where they were using the products together. That's where the connection came from. At first, Stormi was happy to see it. She saw it as support for small businesses, but when Gisela Cosmetics launched their buttercream and it shot to the #1 spot on TikTok Shop, that's allegedly when things changed. Gisela has said that's when all the problems started. She claims that bots were used to fake orders and cancel them, slowing her shipping down. She also said some of the suspicious activity came from Georgia, which is where some of Stormi's ambassadors are based. According to her, these fake orders were either sent to addresses that didn't exist or were cancelled right before they were about to ship. It messed up her whole system and made it impossible to fulfill real orders quickly. She also claims her videos kept getting reported and taken down. She even had to appeal a few takedowns. Now Stormi is acting like she doesn't know this woman at all. She says she's never heard of her, doesn't know her, and is threatening legal action. But this same woman claims she once thought Stormi was supporting her as a fellow small business. So what happened between then and now? The shady part is that Stormi keeps responding in these passive-aggressive comments, laughing it off, using smiley emojis, and saying things like, "There's enough money for everybody." But at the same time, her name keeps popping up in stories about sabotaged orders and strange behind-the-scenes behavior. She can't keep playing both sides. There were 10 other small businesses in the comments of one of the TikTok videos who said they've gone through similar issues. They said, "This happened to me too." And one even claimed to be a former employee who exposed how things were being run behind the scenes at Canvas Beauty. But instead of addressing these issues directly, Stormi keeps going to TikTok, smiling, speaking in fake accents, and acting like everything is fine. Meanwhile, her customers are still waiting for orders, and more bad reviews are piling up. People are losing patience, and it's getting harder to ignore the mess. And remember when she partnered with Kyle and promised 3-day shipping? What happened to that? Now people are back to waiting weeks and getting excuses. And worse, some of them are being told to sign forms that basically waive their right to complain if their packages are damaged. It's not looking good. And I'm surprised more people haven't reported this to TikTok. It's crazy how fast things change when the hype fades, and the truth starts to come out. The real question now is, will Stormi continue to hide behind passive-aggressive videos, or will she finally address the real issues at hand? Only time will tell.